Hi, welcome to Psychurious, where we are taking the boo out of taboo. um, I'm going to tell a story. I'll go first because I want to break the ice so that you feel comfortable if you have a story like this that you'd like to share with us. Um, and the topic is telekinesis, which is kind of a tricky topic. A lot of people aren't really sure it's a real thing. There isn't a ton of proof for it. I can only tell you what happened to me, and then I have a secondhand story. And I know I don't like telling secondhand stories. I like to be able to talk to the people directly and have them come on the show. But the person who told me the story has passed away. So I have to tell it firsthand as a story that she told me, and I believe her. But I'll start with my own story. Um, I'm using telekinesis to mean movement of an object with non-physical energy or force. So in this case, the object that got moved was me. Um, and I didn't do it. It wasn't me. Um, I was writing a term paper, and of all ironies, the term paper was on psychic paranormal phenomenon. Of course it was. And this was in the dark ages, so I have a card table. You know what card tables are? People still use card tables. Card table set up in my bedroom with this giant typewriter on it that must have weighed, I mean, it had to weigh 22 pounds. It was just enormously heavy. Um, and they were both set up on a sheepskin rug because I had bare floors and it was winter and it was cold. So I'd brought in the sheepskin rug so that while I sat there, at least my feet weren't directly on the cold floor. They could be on the sheepskin rug. And if you've never used a typewriter, the thing about typewriters is you have to type correctly. So you can't just delete, delete, delete. You can backspace and get the little correction paper and oh God, you're putting it in and then, oh God, this is so annoying. And then and then you have to type the letter over it and then backspace again and then type the right letter over it. And we were only allowed to have a certain number of corrections per page because that was part of the assignment for these papers, is that they also had to be neat and tidy and good looking. So you could only have 3 corrections a page. So if I made more than one error on a page, I just had to throw the page away and start typing over again. And I was not a super accurate typist. So I was pretty frustrated and I was up pretty late trying to just make some progress. It wasn't the day before it was due, but I was trying to make some progress so that at least I had the first part done. And I've got one light on sort of over here, right, shining down on what I'm doing in my notes. And it's just sort of this dark, closed environment. And I've got some music playing, over on the stereo. And as I'm, sort of hunt and peck typing, because this was before I had even taken a typing class, I was, looking at my notes and then looking at the keyboard and then looking at my notes. And then I would type a word or two. And then I just wanted to make sure that I was not making mistakes. And I noticed that my perspective on the keyboard had shifted. Like, weirdly shifted. Like the keyboard was lower than it had been. And I was thinking, oh God, maybe the table is slowly sinking because this damn typewriter is so heavy. But I looked down, and me and my folding chair, card table chair, are off the ground. About 6 inches. And when I realized that's what had changed my perspective on the keyboard, I gasped. Like, excuse me, not as young as I was then. But I gasped and then I yelled. And then we both just dropped to the ground. Now, I'm on a sheepskin rug. I can't just push my chair back like you would on tile or linoleum or, like classroom floors or even like the short industrial carpet. Like, to get out of my chair, I have to stand up and then lift up the chair and then walk backwards a little bit with it and then sort of scooch out. It was it was not possible that this had just happened, because people don't do this. They don't float with their chair under their butt while they're writing a term paper on the paranormal. So I'm calling that telekinesis, which is kind of not accurate. Again, if you know the term for what this is, please leave a comment below, because I would like to be using the proper terminology. But it is telekinesis in terms of some other force was physically causing the movement of an object, and the object was me and my chair. So we hit the ground, boom, and I yelled from the other side of my mom's like, "What was that?" And I'm like, "You're not gonna believe me!" And I come running up from my room as quickly as I can, because I have to go through this process of getting me in the chair off of the sheepskin rug. I'm sure any observer was cracking up. Whoever lifted me up, that was not funny. I had a very hard time finishing that paper. God. So if that wasn't telekinesis, if you know what that's called, please, please, please tell me. And the second story is from a woman I know that was a psychotherapist. Not a psychiatrist, but a cognitive therapist. And she had a lot of credibility with me. She was a very intelligent, very educated, rational, easy to work with. Like, I liked her a lot, both as a person and a professional. And we were talking about, I don't know how we got on the topic of paranormal and supernatural stuff. It's just interesting. And she said, "Oh, I had a client once who was telekinetic." And I said, "Tell me this story, please." And she described how the way her office was set up was, okay, there was one couch here, and then one couch across the room over here, and then one more couch. So it was like a U shape of couches in her room. And she's on this couch. I'm not going to get it right. She's on one couch, he's on the other couch. And she's talking to him, and he's telling her that, when he gets angry, he has a problem with stuff moving, and she's trying to understand what he meant, and he wasn't coming right out and saying, "I'm moving things with my mind." And she's like, "Well, can you explain that to me a little better?" And he got angry because he felt her doubt. So when she said, I'm simply trying to understand so that I can respond to you in the most appropriate way. And a pillow from her couch, not within her reach, lifts up and just flies across to the couch directly across from her. And he said, "That's what I mean." She said, "Oh, I might not be qualified to help you with this," which is a very professional but very funny answer. And I believe her, because she had no reason to make up a story like that to play along. She had some other fantastic stories that had nothing to do with telekinesis. And I believed those too, because, some of this stuff, when it happens, it's like, that wouldn't be the thing I chose to make up. But the guy with the pillow, when I get angry, things move. That's a pretty good story. So yeah, he angrily threw the pillow across the room to demonstrate what he was talking about. That, I'm pretty sure, is telekinesis. I don't have any bending spoon stories. I don't have any, everybody walked in the room and all the chairs were upside down on the tables. Like, I don't have anything dramatic like that, unless you consider floating for a couple of seconds. But I guess that was dramatic in its own little tiny way. But if you have any telekinesis stories, and if you know what that first story was, that actually telekinesis? Levitation. Yeah, but I didn't do it. I was telekinetically levitated. I don't know what to call it. So if you do, please leave a message down below in the comments. That's what they're called. They're called comments. And if you've got any other stories about telekinesis you'd like to share, I would love to hear them, because I just think it's so cool. I'm like the best audience member for this show. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you joining us, and I look forward to seeing you soon.